The streets of Washington, D.C. bustled with energy. Cars honked, tourists snapped photos near the monuments, and the late afternoon sun gleamed against the white stone buildings. But right outside a busy cafe, tension suddenly froze the air. A police cruiser screeched to a halt. The officer inside slammed the door, adjusting his shades as he walked toward a man in uniform. "Hey, you!" the officer barked, pointing. "Where do you think you're going dressed like that?" Heads turned. Pedestrians slowed down. The man he was addressing, a tall black veteran wearing a clean, decorated army uniform. His chest bore medals. His posture was disciplined, but his eyes carried quiet exhaustion. His name was Major David Brooks. The officer circled him like a predator. "You can't just walk around here in some costume. You think you can play soldier and impress people? Show me some ID." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few people whispered. One woman said softly, "He's clearly a veteran." But the officer ignored them. Major Brooks straightened his shoulders. Calm, respectful. "Sir, I am Major David Brooks, United States Army. 20 years of service. Here's my identification." He reached into his jacket, handing over his military ID. The officer sneered, glancing at it carelessly. "Yeah, right. You expect me to believe this? You people love pretending, don't you?" The words struck like a hammer. "You people!" Brooks clenched his jaw. He'd faced worse on battlefields, but this? This was humiliation on the very streets he had sworn to defend. The officer's voice grew louder so the whole block could hear. "This is stolen valor. You're impersonating a soldier. I should haul you in for this." Brooks tried to remain calm. "I served 3 tours overseas. I bled for this uniform. Please don't disrespect it." But the cop stepped closer, inches from his face. "Don't lecture me. If you were really Army, you'd know better. Tell me, Major, where's your commanding officer now? Who's gonna back you up, huh?" The crowd shifted. Some bystanders shook their heads, disgusted. Others pulled out phones, recording the shameful scene. A little boy in the crowd tugged on his mother's sleeve and whispered, "Mom, why is he yelling at the soldier?" Brooks's voice cracked slightly. "This uniform isn't a costume, it's my life. I buried my brothers in it. Don't strip me of the dignity they died for." The officer laughed cruelly. "Save the speech. You're going downtown. Let's see how long your little act lasts when the paperwork comes out." The crowd murmured in disbelief. Someone called out, "That's a veteran officer. Leave him alone." But the cop waved them off. "Stay out of this. I know a fraud when I see one." Brooks lowered his head. His fists tightened, but he didn't resist. He whispered to himself, "Lord, give me patience." And then, his radio crackled. "Unit 47, the dispatcher said urgently. "Stand by. Pentagon officials are en route. Do not detain Major Brooks." The officer froze. "Wait, what?" the dispatcher repeated, louder this time. "Do not detain Major Brooks. He is scheduled to meet with Pentagon staff in 5 minutes. He is on official duty. I repeat, stand down immediately." Gasps shot through the crowd. The officer's face drained of color. His arrogance melted into panic. He looked around, suddenly aware of the phone's recording, the dozens of eyes staring in disgust. Brooks lifted his chin. His calm, steady voice now carried thunder. "You wanted to know who my commanding officer is? In about 3 minutes, the Secretary of Defense will be shaking my hand. Does that answer your question?" The crowd erupted into applause. Some clapped furiously, others cheered. "Respect the uniform!" someone shouted. The officer stammered, fumbling for words. I didn't realize..." But before he could finish, 2 black SUVs rolled up, flags fluttering on the hood. Out stepped Pentagon officials in crisp suits, accompanied by armed security. One of them, a senior general, marched straight toward Brooks. "Major Brooks, sir, we've been expecting you. Thank you for coming on such short notice." The general saluted. Brooks saluted back, steady, dignified. The cop stood frozen, trembling, his jaw slack. The general glanced at him with icy disdain. "Is there a problem here, officer?" The officer opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Brooks answered instead. "Just a misunderstanding, sir. Nothing is worth delaying the nation's business over." The general's eyes narrowed. "Good, because this man has done more for this country than most of us ever will. Show some respect." The officer lowered his head in shame, sweat dripping down his temple. He muttered, "Yes, sir." The crowd exploded into cheers. Some shouted, "Hero!" Others clapped, phones still recording every second. Applause broke out across the cabin. Some passengers clapped slowly and deliberately, and others shook their heads at the marshals with disgust. One man muttered, "Serves them right." The marshals collapsed into their seats, trembling, humiliated. Every sip of champagne, every glance from another passenger, reminded them of the shame they had brought upon themselves. Jordan quietly put his headphones back on. Calm, dignified. He didn't need revenge. The truth had already spoken louder than anything. When the plane finally landed, the captain himself stepped out of the cockpit to greet Jordan. He shook the boy's hand firmly, smiling with pride. "You did nothing wrong," he said warmly. The marshals couldn't even look up. Their arrogance had melted into silence. Their designer clothes and wealthy sneers couldn't save them from the weight of their own humiliation. And as Jordan walked off that plane, passengers parted for him. Some smiled, some nodded. A few even whispered, "Good for him." Because in the end, it wasn't money or luxury that won. It wasn't arrogance or power. It was dignity. Never judge someone by their appearance, because the person you look down on may be standing far, far above you,